Protections.
Due to suggestive adult themes and dialogue, this podcast is intended for adults. In other words, the truth is ugly, so we get ugly right along with it. Everything we say is out of love for ourselves, our people, and our community. Sincerely, the Green Route Podcast.
Welcome back to the Green Route Season 2. Episode 6. It's crazy. Like this sprint, I've had a bunch of my favorite people with me, which is great because down the line I may not have all my favorite people with me. Correct. So it's a good way to start off.
Absolutely.
Season 2.
That's why I had to get in early. I was like, well, she's gonna move on up from here. Like, so I'm gonna have to get in right now.
Look, don't let Anthony fool y'all. Don't let Anthony fool y'all. He has done amazing things. So speaking of Anthony and fooling y'all, I got one of my favorite people with me today. It's crazy. I'm thinking just about everybody that I've had on are people that I've forged relationships with here in Dallas. Well, outside of Ronald, which will be a special episode that we recorded that will drop between kind of parts 1 and parts 2 of season 2. But everybody they're from Dallas. It just lets me know I've done all right out here.
You made connections.
I've made some really good connections.
It only takes a little time. You can't do it quickly. You just got to take your time,
That's true.
It's been a while. You've been here for how long?
Yeah, this is my 10th year.
Yeah.
So my first 2 years though was at SMU. So I was kind of in a bubble. Yeah. Literally in a bubble.
No, I know.
So I have Anthony Anderson with me. I always got to tell the story of how I met people because it should be so random. But I met him through.
Please tell me.
I met you through Tribe, so through Crystal in essence. Okay. So we have a mutual friend, Crystal, who is a trainer and just an amazing athlete all around. And so while I was at SMU, actually, I think it was in between my first and second year, I found Tribe and was like, oh, let me see what this is hitting for. And at the time, I think y'all were at Hillcrest. Y'all were still...
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Y'all were at
I thought maybe it was not a coincidence that it was still at SMU that you found us, but... Okay.
So I think y'all were doing one day at Hillcrest and another day... It was like Wednesdays at SMU, but Hillcrest was on Saturdays or something.
It might have been.
Or maybe on Sunday. It was something like that. Sunday and Wednesday, I think were the track days
Sundays
at the
at
time.
2 p.m. like some fools.
So I think so. Whatever day it was the Hillcrest day, and the reason I remember it is because it was so hot, and it was my first workout with y'all, and there was no shade at Hillcrest at the time.
Nope.
Like this is before they redid anything, and I just remember trying to find a sliver of relief, And I remember Kim, our other friend, Kim walked up to me. She was like, hey, girl, you okay? I was like, no, I feel lightheaded. I think I'm about to pass out. It was probably one of the hardest workouts I had done in my adult life.
Well, not to mention you was kind of new to Texas, new to this heat.
Yes, new to the heat, new to Texas, new to Tribe. And at the time, Tribe was hitting.
It was hitting.
It was crazy. Yeah. So met Anthony through that group, and we just became friends. And then Anthony ended up becoming a trainer for the group, one of the coaches. So we just, how it is when you meet people and y'all connect. I think we just started doing lunch here and there when I graduated from SMU. And learning about each other, and I got to learn his personality. He got to learn mine, and it just meshed. So we've known each other for, I guess, about 8 years now.
Yeah, seems crazy.
It's nuts, and so it's crazy when you think back because it's dang, we've actually seen each other through some life stuff. Some life has happened in the last 8 years.
Well, and that's what I was mentioning to you earlier. Is I feel like I looked through my whole phone and couldn't find. Then you had all the photos and stuff like that. So I was like, I remember. This is why you got to take pictures and have memories because you got to look back at that stuff and be like, oh yeah, that shit was fun. Yeah. That wasn't. Yeah. So.
I remember that hair.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, I mean,
for
you, it's been about the same. But that's okay. You've been consistent. Consistency is key.
That's right.
Consistency is key. So, y'all, Anthony is an incredible professional in the wellness space and the training space. An amazing boxer. He done gave me some crazy boxing workouts too.
Who wants some?
And really, the thing I really love about what he does is it's really holistic wellness. I think a lot of trainers tend to focus on the body only, but I've literally done like breathing exercises with this dude and really just been able to get like ground into my body and then just find a focal point in my mind. So we're going to talk about that after we wrap up these 5 topics, just about health and wellness. And I think especially given just the state of the world, the state of the country, like people are under a lot of stress. And maybe you can give us some tips on how to balance that shit out. Jesus.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm not an expert, but I do a little, so.
He do him. All right. Anything you want to say to the people before we hop in?
No, thank you for having me on this. Like, I haven't never been on a podcast, so I can't say that I'm nervous though, but at the same time, it's new for me and I didn't want to do it at first, even though I joked about doing it. But in the end, I decided, once you invited me again, I was like, just do it because you cannot grow unless you do something that's going to feel awkward and crazy. But so I appreciate you having me on here and I hope I do a good job and get all kind of hits and stuff. Now, how's it work with social media? I don't know how it works. I'm just kidding.
Y'all tell me if y'all want Anthony back. How about that? How about that?
Yeah.
No, and for me, this is a conversation. It's always. Anthony was like, "You don't get nervous," and I'm like, "I'll be forgetting the camera there most of the time, like because it's just talking to someone who I genuinely have an interest in."
Look,
hearing
I tried
their
to look in the camera. I was like, "Where is it?" I mean,
hi.
Yeah. I'm looking in the wrong spot. I'm looking at the monitor over there. I don't. Yeah. So.
Nah, it's just going to be a conversation. So, all right, well, let's go on and hop in because we are going to try to keep this episode shorter, y'all.
Yeah.
Last week, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I told him we ain't doing that because I was here last week too, by the way.
He produced last week's show. And so if you loved it, thank you, Anthony. All right. So topic number 1, y'all, we are keeping it down here in Texas to start with. So one of the top stories in the nation right now has to do with Ken Paxton and his impeachment that is going on. So Ken Paxton is the now disgraced Attorney General for the state of Texas. He has been in that role for quite some time. So early this year, I want to say it was early this year, a couple whistleblowers popped up and was like, hey, Ken Paxton has been misusing his office, his power. There were cases of bribery alleged. There were cases of him obstructing justice, him potentially covering up other questionable situations for close friends of his, burying investigations for people who may have been doing business with or been close to. So a lot going on there. Ken Paxton's wife, which Anthony reminded me of right before we started recording, is actually a part of the Texas State Senate as well. So while his hearing is going on, she is not being allowed to participate, but you will see her. So this is televised, you guys. You will see her at least sitting at her Senate desk, although she is not allowed to participate in the impeachment hearing. So there's a couple things going on. As we talked about, accusations of bribery, obstruction of justice, and the big one I think that I was worried about was the misappropriation of public resources, wherein he could have, very well could have been using his office and the state's funds to cover up things or to do things to his personal benefit or the benefit of those who are close to him. This was in 2020, but we didn't hear about it, I guess, until earlier this year. But in 2020, a couple whistleblowers, 7 of them actually went forward to the FBI, one of whom was actually Ken Paxton's aide.
Right.
He was the first person that was called up to the stand yesterday when the trial started. So when I got back on today and I started watching it, I definitely noticed that Ken Paxton's attorney was like grilling this dude something crazy.
Oh, did you watch it?
I watched about an hour of it today, and he was cross-examining the witness, right? Ken Paxton's former aide, who I believe was the first whistleblower to go to the FBI. So it was a very aggressive. The first one fired, I believe. The first what?
Fired. He's doing wrongful terminations after that. So let's just go ahead.
Right. Like I feel like once you make that decision, you pretty much got to know that you about to lose your job. I hope he had like saved up his money, paid off his credit card debt, like done the financial things that he knew.
I don't know. He's still facing charges on another. This is we'll go into that later. But yeah,
if you knew you was about to go blow the whistle on your boss, I pray that you got your financial house in order. Yeah, because you're about to get fired, my boy. Yeah. You were about to get walked out of that office. So another big one, y'all, is there's alleged wrongdoing into how Paxton handled an investigation into a man named Nate Paul. So Nate Paul is a Houston real estate investor. He was known by name in the real estate investing community for being what they called a prodigy at the time.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, this was like high value, real estate. But then all of a sudden it turned into high profile bankruptcies and him just having a lot of business troubles. He also had a raid on his home and his businesses. So Paul started going through some shit. I'm guessing Ken Paxton was like, oh, you my boy. Let me help you out. Right. Let me cover you. And so now Nate Paul's name is being associated with Ken Paxton in this investigation, which could very well mean that both of them go down at the same time. So the shit is crazy. The last thing I'll say is the reason I'm watching it and the reason I really do believe it's being televised is because it's setting a precedent for the party having to hold their party members accountable.
Yes.
I think we've seen far too often like people having their loyalties along party lines and they're willing to overlook shit because, oh, you're a Democrat or, oh, you're a Republican. But this one is important because we have to remember this is Texas, right? So this is a GOP dominated Senate that brought this impeachment forward. Now, let's also be clear that it probably only came forward because other people didn't want to be caught up in it.
Right.
And so it's like, well, let me get you before I got
And there was enough out there. Right. So he wasn't really hiding enough. He was just out there doing these things and with there was going to be no consequences to it, which, go to say like this, not to say that he couldn't do that, because a lot of times you see that happening when people can do things and then nothing happens to them, right? Yeah. So it's interesting how this one did come about where they're putting them in this situation to be like, yo, you went too far.
Like, too much.
Yeah, too much. Let's calm it down. Easy. Like, let's not do all that.
And I would 100% agree. I think at this point it's like, all right, we saw you outside popping bottles and doing what you do. And then, you use the mayor's credit card to pop a bottle with a woman that wasn't your wife. You just took it. You took it too far. Yeah. You took it too far. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's what happened, y'all. This is hyperbole. Please don't go.
There is an alleged affair.
And I love that his wife is going to be there about to listen to all of it.
I'm sure she knows everything, though.
I think so, too. But the drama of like her getting up and like trying to come across a desk on him would just be...
That would be magnifique. Yeah.
That would be on BBC International there.
That'd be worldwide. Like, just gold right there.
I see you, girl.
Yeah.
So
get them. No.
So, we don't know exactly how long this trial is going to last, but I think it is worth watching because, again, cases like this do tend to set precedent for other cases. And I am certain there's another attorney general or something somewhere in a highly ranked office who has been abusing the power in that office. And so cases like this tend to allow other people to take notes and be like, you know what? I think I got a case too against my boss or my subordinate or whatever. True. So
to the least, the next person that comes in will be like, I can't mess around right now. I can't
leave that door open. Don't you close that door.
No. So it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, not to mention he still has that indictment from like 2015 that is still hanging over his head.
That's right.
We got a long way to go. It took them all day to even swear in people, from what I understand. Yeah. And so it's going to be a long trial, but I'm excited to see what happens because, everybody gets excited when you finally hold somebody accountable. Yes. It's like the American people, the Texas people, whatever, will rejoice to be like, finally get one. Finally get a win.
Yeah. And I think we can say the same about y'all's ex-president. I think that's why so many people are excited to speak. And not just like those of us who experienced him as a president. I watched this series of videos where this man was talking about all of his friends who have done business with Trump Enterprises and been slighted for what they were owed. And it was like, oh, they didn't pay me for 2 years and I had taken out all these loans to provide services for this project. And then I guess the MO of the entire operation was to say, oh, okay, well, we'll just go on and settle. Since it's been so long and you really want your money, right? And so, if you had a $5 million contract, sometimes people would end up getting $2-3 million and then having to either shut down their business or go into debt just to, provide the services that they signed on for. So I think those people are also really excited because it's like, yeah, we've been telling y'all that this was an issue. You just saw it happen at the highest level possible.
Right.
So yeah. All right. Anything else on this one?
I think we're good. Like I say, we're going to keep it short. We're going to get through this. We're going to move through it.
I like.
But I will say though, let me see here, that your boy Dan Patrick's overseeing it. I don't think that's fair, but
yeah, touche.
At least he don't have a vote, just like his wife does. Yes. So we good with there. So
yeah, I mean, that's true. And I did like that there were a certain level of checks and balances when it came to conflict of interest.
Yes.
So yeah, because that would be utterly ridiculous. And then isn't there there's like a clause that says that you don't have to testify against your spouse, right? Under oath. What is it?
It's called I forgot what it's called. BS.
Yeah. So I'm like, she could have backed out if she wanted to, right?
Right.
Okay. Which is crazy because she's still a senator in the state. That's
to do with like getting on the stand, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But imagine had they had as a senator, right? Because she's had to do business with him as a senator,
right?
Had they called her up, I don't think they even would have been able to do it though because they're married.
Yes.
So good for her. She gets to sit back and
watch this go down
and stretch before she has to come across that table on that food. All right, y'all. So let's move on. Let's talk topic number 2. It's so much going on around foreign affairs and these very interesting alliances that we are seeing form. And why I'm chuckling is because for so long, the United States was the superpower. Mm-hmm. And now we are watching the new superpowers align.
Yeah.
And we're being left out.
Yeah.
So the story that I want to cover, I actually wrote down here, they got money for wars, but can't feed the poor. So the United States, yes, Tupac. The United States is sending another
$1 billion
aid package to Ukraine worth $1 billion.
I didn't realize how much they actually sent to overall for the war.
It's insane. We're funding this war.
Yes.
We are funding it.
Yes.
More than NATO, more than any other country. And we should also point out, I mean, America, we do foreign aid, right? Like that's something that we've done. We have sent more to Ukraine since the war started than we have to Israel, than a lot of the countries that we send foreign aid to. Like, I think I sent you that report that had like all the graphs in it. It was a really good report from, where was it from? It was the Council on Foreign Relations. They did a report.
I don't know.
it was an email. Okay. But yeah, they did a report that showed, just how much money, and it isn't just like cash dollars, right? Like some of it absolutely is like humanitarian funds, things like that. But the weapons,
but not a lot. When you look at the breakdown, it's out of the $75 billion or whatever that was sent, it was only like $3 or $4 billion that was for humanitarian.
Right. So the majority of that
military
is absolutely for weaponry, artillery, things like that.
Right.
I was on TikTok live this morning, and one thing when I was talking about this story, I was like, y'all just do a quick exercise on company time. Still a little bit of company time while you at the job today, and go look at the stock price of U.S. defense companies from the day Ukraine was invaded by Russia to today.
That's a good point.
And it is absolutely insane. So if you look at these packages, and by the way, if you are looking for them, they're always announced on the the U.S. defense page. So they always put like a quick write-up on how much we're sending, what we're sending, all that. But also listed in there is who the primary contractors are for these weapons or planes or whatever that we're sending over there. And the names that you will see over and over, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon. Just go do yourself a quick exercise and look at the stock price.
All right, I'm going to do that.
And it will start to make sense why our elected officials are signing off on these funding packages, because if I knew where the money was about to be funneled,
I'm buying that stock.
There you go. And this is why people are calling for our elected officials to have limitations and restrictions on how they can invest while they're in office, because they do have information as far as where funding is going, where taxpayer dollars are going before we have it. And so they can make moves before we do.
And let's not get it twisted. This is both sides of the party, and they all know it, and they all benefited from it.
Shall we talk about Dianne Feinstein and her rich ass? as much as we loved her and she was whipping them into shape as speaker and all, let's be clear that she has also benefited from these types of things too. So $1 billion, y'all. We also found out this morning that our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, decided to take his ass over to Kyiv unannounced. I don't even know if he told Zelensky he was going over there. I'm going to be honest.
Not sure. Well, that's funny is they met up at a McDonald's. Did you see that?
Did he just say, I'm at D's down on?
I'm going to ride the train from Poland over to, we just McDonald's over here.
I'm down on Kyiv.
Come holler at me. Come holler at me.
So he makes this unannounced trip. And it was said for 3 reasons. The first thing that the State Department said was it was a show of our commitment to Ukraine.
Yeah.
The second thing the State Department said was he was there.
Travel. Okay, keep going.
You said what?
Which didn't need travel there. But
yeah, right. We could have sent an email.
Keep going.
A text would have done it.
Yeah.
I love you and I support you. Yeah. Sending a little something your way. Check your account. So yeah, first, that was the second thing, that he was going over there to assess their progress and really their status. The third thing was to announce this package, which, again, what Anthony said is supposed to be worth $1 billion in weapons, humanitarian aid, things like that. What else is going on in the background, though, is that Russia and North Korea are cozying up to each other.
BFFing over there.
Yeah, they may have dipped their fries in the same little, ketchup. It sounds like they becoming friends, right?
Yes.
Russia, we do know, had an artillery shortage, and we knew this because of the Wagner situation. So remember the leader of the Wagner group, the one who just died in the plane crash.
That's right.
He came out he had pretty much put Putin out there hey, unless you pay me and get my boys the artillery they need, we out.
We out, yeah.
And so I guess Putin got whatever they needed, the shells, whatever. But it sounds like that they are running low. So what I found out today is that North Korea not only has, a stockpile of the things that Russia needs, but also they have some of the raw materials that will allow Russia, to up their production of their own. The other thing that's happening is that we are running wartime exercises with places like South Korea, Taiwan.
Yeah.
And so we are starting to see a very apparent split.
Yes.
As far as who's on whose side.
Yes. Well, apparent is a good word because it's always been that split, but now it's becoming apparent. Okay, now
they're clicking up now.
Everybody's like, okay, so you going, okay.
These my homies over here. Yeah. What y'all doing? So, China didn't show up to G20.
Yes, which I didn't know. You told me that.
Well, so they sent they didn't send their head, right? They sent somebody over there, like a me over there. They was like, hey, go over there real quick and see what they're talking about. We have BRICS that invited, 8 new countries to join?
Wow.
The G20 is obviously losing its gusto in all of this. So it's getting really interesting to watch who aligns with who. The other thing I can say is that the U.S., I hate that we are using other places to fight wars with the folks we don't like. So Ukraine was always going to be a proxy war for us. And we knew that before Russia even invaded because of how we instigated the invasion in the first place. So weeks before the invasion, I don't know if y'all remember on the news, all you heard was Russia's getting ready to invade Ukraine. Russia's getting ready. It was like, I know I have friends in Ukraine who were literally like, can y'all shut the fuck up?
Right.
Like we are always used to like Russian, soldiers and presence. Like Russia is considered big sister in Ukraine. So for them, they're like, relax. Right. Y'all are making it worse. I really hate that we have taken it upon ourselves as a country to continue to drive this war with Russia, or
war in general.
The war machine is alive and well.
Absolutely.
Alive, and we can go right. We can spin this right back around to when the war machine is on. There is a handful of people who get very wealthy.
That's right. That's why stop it if it's going to make money. That's right. All it comes down to it. So.
And I ain't gotta die.
Right.
I ain't gotta send my kids over there to fight. I can use y'all people to funnel money into these companies that I'm highly invested in.
Absolutely.
It's bad. It's bad. Let me see what else I got on here. I had written down our aid to Ukraine far exceeds any other country and is actually dwarfing what's being done on the home front to fight things like homelessness and poverty and kids that can't eat lunch for free.
This homeless situation is just...
It's out of line.
It's so bad that I've thought you see it in certain places and you don't think it's going to... And then right down the street, it's just everywhere now. So it's pretty bad that... we really should be taking care of home more than what we are, at least. So,
You got anything else on this?
Just all the people that's died in this war too. Don't forget all that. 500,000 plus people.
That's right.
So we got to remember all that when it comes down to war and why we're doing it and how they don't mind for this many people to die just to make make money or power or whatever the case may be. So,
yeah. On that note, I do want to fill y'all in. So earlier this week, a story broke from Cuban Foreign Ministry where they were able to find out about and crack a human trafficking ring that was funneling Cubans living in Russia, but also living on the island.
Sending them to Russia.
Into the Russian armed forces. So remember maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, Putin had said, like, we need more soldiers.
Right.
Y'all need to be signing up. He's pretty much telling civilians, get your ass enlisted. Correct. And then remember, there was like a mass exodus into Poland.
That's right.
People were trying to leave. So it's being thought that this was part of his plot to fill in those missing troops really, that had been lost.
Of citizenship and stuff like that.
That's right. They promised them citizenship. Yeah. And Russia and Cuba are allies. Like they do... they do their dance. We don't really see them outside together like that, but they together. they together. So yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. Like we've seen massive losses in this war, and now they're recruiting folks who are looking, for a better life,
right?
With the promise of citizenship.
And that's even just even more diabolical to do that to people, to promise them something and then switch it on and be like, you know what, you got to do this first, or whatever the case may be. Knowing that they're down there. Russia, I believe, lost more lives than anybody in this thing. 300,000 or something like that. Like, when did you just say, you know what? My bad.
I didn't even want this type of smoke in real life. Exactly. I wasn't even looking for this type of smoke. So yeah, I mean, it does go to show that Russia is, they are looking, sadly, I hate to say it, but they are looking for bodies. It's not a mistake that they had employed the Wagner group, right? This private mercenary group to help them fight this war. So who's next is the question.
Yeah. I mean, it's something going on over there. We don't know what exactly, but something's not right. And I think they're going to, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't see a good end to any of this when it comes to
China's trying to broker peace, which America, I think, is them flexing their power as the new world power.
Right.
I'm going to just leave that right there. So
you ain't wrong.
So yeah. All right, y'all. Number 3, Africa is on some interesting time right now. If y'all have not been paying attention to what is going on in Africa, but specifically the coups and the overthrowing of what the African people of these nations are calling puppet governments, backed by Western powers, backed by Europe, the US, things like that, it's going down. Now, I know the last few weeks, a lot of us talked about Niger, what was happening over there. They pretty much was like, the French got to go. Get the fuck out of here. The junta took the president, put him on house arrest. They didn't hurt him, right? They removed him. And one of the military leaders is in power now for the interim. But Gabon actually had a coup late last week. I think it was late last week.
This is all new to me, so.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. So the issue here, and this is crazy. This is again one of those countries, like, I had to go look it up because I was like, where is this place? Like, what do y'all have? Oil rich country. Incredibly wealthy country. The French ruled there for almost ever. Not forever, right? But for a very long time. So what the people of the country were griping about is that a specific family has been in power for over half a century.
Okay.
During that half a century, they have pretty much used the country's oil-rich land to enrich themselves, while 900,000 of its 2.4 million citizens. Like, think about that number. You got 2.4 million people there. And this 900,000 may be understated when you really think about it.
So close to half.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it said a third. Like, when I did the number, it was about, a little more than a third. So those people live in dire poverty when this is one of the most oil-rich countries on the continent. So they accused the president of enriching himself, enriching his family. There was a really good book that was written by a professor at, I believe, Syracuse University that was called like Gabon is in Trouble or something like that. So I read a couple chapters, a couple excerpts. And really what he talked about was the fact that the family took 18% of the profits for themselves to enrich themselves, while the people got about 20%.
All the people.
Right. So when you start hearing about these coups, like, I know it's easy for the media to like demonize these people, right, for running up in these palaces.
As they usually do.
Yeah, and being like, no, we're sick of it. But I think these people are also just tired of really what is a puppet government being run by the French.
Absolutely.
Enriching themselves and keeping everybody else under a thumb.
And that's not only, it's across Africa, right? It's like the most natural, resourceful continent on the planet by far.
By far, yep.
Not to mention the surrounding waters and things of that nature. A lot of people want to talk about the pirates and stuff like that. Like, they're doing these things for a reason. We just can't look at them and be like, oh, they killing people, they doing cool.
That's right.
Nobody does this if they're happy, right? Like, if you have stuff, money and wealth, and like, you're not doing this type of stuff, right? And
thank you.
Only a few certain amount of people may do that for power, but on the large scale of things, if people fed well and have money in their pocket and everything is good, they're not going to do this. So it always has to be an underlying reason for that.
100%.
And I say that when the same thing when we talk about mental health and stuff like that. There's something else going on here. Yeah. Like, people just don't act like that necessarily. So,
no, I mean, you got a few psychopaths out there that just, they want the power. They just love to act. They love to run amok and act a fool. But me and Marvay talked about that last week when the Nordstrom situation, right? Like, the Gini coefficient is a thing for a reason, wherein you see where inequality rises, so does violent crime. And it's relative inequality, right? So if I look across and you got a $500,000 watch on, but I can't even get a cup of rice to eat for dinner.
Right.
Yeah, I might go on and take your watch so I can eat.
And it depends how long it's going too, right? That's the other time, the timetable of it all.
Yep.
I can see that watch and be like, okay, all right, I can get there. And then when you keep saying, nope, you're not. And I'm sitting over here still with that watch and eating good. And like, and it's been years of me trying to get that watch and try to get that food. eventually say, yeah, you know what? I ain't got nothing else to lose. I'm never going to get there without doing it.
That's
so
right.
Here's what I'm going to do.
There's have you ever seen that Tupac clip? He was being interviewed and he talked about standing outside the door. Yeah. That's what it reminds me of. Like, you know, you knocking nice the first time, like, hey, I'm hungry. I see the party. Yeah. Can I eat? Now we
close the door.
After a while,
I'm beating
you beat that whole down.
It's coming down.
Like, I need to eat.
Right.
I need to eat. And so yeah, I'm never going to be a proponent of violence. Usually, I should say never. I shouldn't say never, but I do sometimes feel like if the folks who have kept you under their thumb with violence know nothing but that, sometimes that's what it takes. Yeah,
you turn that cheek many times you want.
That's right.
There's not going to change.
That's right. Because this is their makeup. This is their essence. So yeah, I mean, the people actually broke out in celebration when the new military leader, was sworn in on an interim basis, in Gabon. And so I think this also speaks to the French really losing their influence in Africa. When you look at the countries that they were still very much in control of, even the culture, the language, things like that. If you look at a lot of the oil companies, the electric companies, a lot of them have French names. They're run by, these French executives, right? They are truly losing their influence. And when you see the people, right, get on, and Democracy Now! Does a really great job of interviewing a lot of these folks on the ground once these coups take place. And what they are saying is that, we don't want anybody to feel sorry for us. We're just tired. Right. And so this is what happens when you get tired. Like you said, we can only turn the other cheek for so long. We're tired of living this way and watching our president and his family eat big, right, and eat behind a closed door while we've been knocking nicely. So I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I love to see the uprising that is going on the continent right now. And I think it only speaks to the fact that there have been major abuses for decades and centuries by Western and European powers, and folks are tired. It was no mistake that there was a folding chair incident here in the United States. That was simply a microcosm, I think, of the bigger feeling of a lot of people around the world who have really been like just tired. And that's around the world, because they had their thumb on a lot of countries. Yeah. Don't forget, it's like we can go country to country, like a lot of the Caribbeans and everything like that. They basically own these places and funnel all the money, the natural resources and stuff like that they got from that back to that country. So, I mean, you got countries calling for reparations now from the crown, right? Yes. Which I love. What country was that? Was it Jamaica? Yeah, I think was it Jamaica? Okay. They pretty much was like, we don't fuck with you for real. Right. we was just kind of here because we had to be. But yeah, I mean, Haiti is a very poor country because it had to pay reparations to the slavers who were kicked off the island. Right. And so yeah, y'all, I also think, I don't know if people really understood like the significance of the whole folding chair incidents, but I think people could feel it. They felt that it was a reckoning that needed to happen and that it was bigger than just that, right? And so I really do think that is like a very, very small example of what we're seeing in these coups, where people are like, nah, we've been putting up with your shit forever. We're done. And we're done. We're done. We're too talented. We are too wealthy here in our own homeland to allow ourselves to live like this under your rule. Right. It's a whole different thing if we're all in it together, but we're not. Like, that's right. You're clearly over here and you're not willing to share. Nah. So here's what we got to do. Nah. You eating crab legs and my kid is over there with a... Man, don't be talking about food right now. I'm sorry. He prayer and supplication and fasting right now. All right, y'all. We are actually moving through this and I love it. It's only 7:42. No. That's fantastic. Good. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. So let's talk about Alabama. Alabama. Yes. Okay. In the summer, June, the Supreme Court was doing a lot of bullshit. But one of the things that they did that was right was they told officials in Alabama to take their little funky congressional maps back to Alabama and redraw them. And the reason they had done that, number one, the Supreme Court was upholding a lower court decision that had already been made that said that these congressional maps were in direct opposition to the Voting Rights Act.
Correct.
So the way they had gerrymandered and drawn and cut up these maps, it took power from Black voters. So
gerrymandering at its best.
at its best. So the Supreme Court said, hey, y'all need to go back and create 2 districts wherein people of voting age are majority. It has to be majority Black people of voting age. And that will allow them to decide who their representation is to either go to the House or to the Senate. Cool. You would think that when the Supreme Court says something.
Said 2. They said 2.
2.
Yeah.
You would think that when the Supreme Court told your ass to do something that you would go do it. You know what Alabama did? They took their little raggedy asses back to Alabama and was like, Supreme Court who?
Yeah.
They created 1 district.
Right.
And I want to say the directive was 2 districts or something like it. So they created 1 district that was majority Black. And it was probably that wiggle room that they were given.
Yes.
Is the reason they tried to play them with that
wording made
they should have left that out.
Yeah.
They should have left it. Create 2 districts in that period with the T on it.
Right.
They should have put the T on it. So they go back and create 1 district. And for the second one, they created a district that was about 31, maybe it was 33% Black.
Yes.
Which is not what they were told to do.
Right.
But the Attorney General from Alabama was like, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to appeal it anyway.
Right.
So
and take it to the Supreme Court.
They were going to take it back to the Supreme Court. So they start the process of taking these raggedy maps right back through the justice system, right? They get to a federal court. There's a panel of judges, 2 of whom I believe were appointed by Trump. The panel of judges looked at the maps and was like, hold on, maybe y'all didn't hear what the Supreme Court told you to do. What is this? Told them to go back, get it right. But you know what I do love that these judges did? They also appointed a court official. Like this is a court appointed official who will now be in charge of drawing the maps the correct way.
Okay.
They have to submit, I believe, 3 different versions by September 25th.
Okay.
To be used in the 2024 election.
Beautiful.
I was so happy to hear it.
That's
our good news story.
That is, because I knew everything up until that point. So I'm glad to hear that, they are stepping up and doing what's actually right. And I think it's the right thing to do. And I hope other states that in the similar position follow suit. And do the right thing and let people vote and let them decide as opposed to you making people decide a certain way. That's right. That's basically what's happening.
That's right. And Florida did try it, by the way. Florida is one of those states that recently tried to do the same thing, but a judge actually struck down their map saying the same thing. Like, no, this disenfranchised. And it's always us. It's always Black voters.
Always.
It disenfranchises Black voters. And they said it was like offensive. Like the language that the judge used was like, this is like egregious, actually. So I do think you're right. I think the lower court saying the maps were trash, the Supreme Court saying the maps were trash, go back and draw them, and then them going back to a lower federal court and the panel of judges looking at them like maybe you didn't hear the highest court of the land tell you what it is. And since you can't do it right, I'm going to appoint someone from my court who will. So now there's a court appointed master who will be over these maps, and they will have to have it done for the 2024 election, which we know is exactly what those officials in Alabama were after. They were hoping that they could keep either 1 or 2, districts from voting a certain way, which could very well mean, them keeping certain seats in the House or in the Senate.
Yes.
So that's really what it was about.
That's what makes a big difference when it comes all the way up there. Yeah.
So I was really.
And who wouldn't want that title in Alabama?
What title?
I think you said something about Maps Master or something.
Maps Master? Yeah, that's actually. I mean, I'll be a Maps Master. I'm pretty good with maps. Yeah. I can read a map. So yeah, that's the good news story. The Attorney General, I will say though, after the panel of judges reached their decision and was like, little boy, get out of here. He was like, well, I'm going to appeal again. So he's wasting taxpayer dollars,
right?
Trying to get back to court. And his rationale was that our leadership in this state knows our people and our voters better than the Supreme Court.
I mean, where do you draw the line? Where do you?
Pun intended. I see what you did there. That was really good. That's why we're friends.
Yeah.
He said, where do you draw the line? Cross the line, buddy. Yeah, look, there's a drum set in there. We're going to have to get that out.
It'd be funny if you had somebody back there.
Somebody needs to come out here and play for us real quick.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So our fifth story is kind of crazy to me. I saw this, I think, day before yesterday, and I was like, what is happening to the earth right now? Like, what is going on? So the UN released a new report talking about how invasive species are rising at an unprecedented rate across the globe.
Yeah, I read about that, huh?
But I think my only issue with the report was they were worried about the amount of money it's going to cost the global economy rather than like the homogeneous like species range that it's creating.
Stuff that's going extinct and endangered and
y'all worried about some money?
Right.
I couldn't believe the way they wrote it. But yeah, y'all, so apparently these invasive species, which sometimes are introduced into certain places for a reason, right? Whether sometimes it's like, oh, we have an overgrowth of this. We need to introduce the species to kill it off, whatever.
Which is a lot of times a mistake too, but.
Yes, and that's the report actually said that, like, you know, y'all release this shit and you don't control it.
Right.
And so then what happens is it ends up overtaking the native species, which leads to extinction. So this report said that there are over, I believe, 37,000 invasive species that they can actually like count right now. Right. So I feel like if y'all can only count 37,000,
go ahead.
What J. Cole say? You know, you got to multiply by three. I'm just saying, like, we probably well over 100K right now.
Yeah. And some of the destruction that some of these species cause, it's astronomical. Like,
did you hear about the Hawaii one, the Maui one?
No. Okay.
This shit tripped me out. Vice, and we both watch Vice. Y'all should watch Vice.
Watch Vice.
Watch Vice, goddamn. So apparently, part of the reason the Maui fire was so bad and moved so quick was because a species of grass from Africa somehow got over. They're thinking cargo ships, or you know,
not somehow we brought it there.
Yeah, well, we don't know how. So that's why I said somehow. So we don't know how it got there, but somehow got over to the island and spread. And apparently, this particular species of grass has a habit of being burned, growing back really quick. So they were saying that because it burns so quick, like it caught and just, spread the fire quicker than like anyone could even react.
Right, because the amount of people that, died in this had to tell you that this thing was just like, poof.
You had people going into the water to keep from being burned. Yeah. You saw videos of like, fathers with their kids jumping into the water to stay away from the flame, right? Like that's how quick this thing was moving. And wildfire, like being from California, like you understand the concept of wildfire, and it's usually perpetuated by dry conditions and wind. So that's when it usually happens, right? So that's why the power companies in California will do rolling blackouts to de-energize the lines when the Santa Ana winds kick up. Because if one of those lines fall, it catches something that is quick to kimber, and it's a wrap.
Right.
Because that wind is going to push.
Once that wind hits,
And so really Maui had honestly some of the same conditions, but now it's being said, scientists are finding out that one of the reasons why the fire moved so quickly is that this particular species of grass, which was not supposed to be there, is actually much more combustible and burns that much quicker than the native grass to places like Maui. And so that was just one example of, like you said, the destruction that these invasive species are causing. And when you introduce them, when they are introduced, a lot of times they like, oh shit, that tree looks soft over there, and they go kill that tree and end up taking over. And the bugs can't live there. The animals aren't used to it. It's a trickle effect. And even the humans, right? You have new allergens coming in for them, new sicknesses, fungi, things like that. So money aside, just thinking about how we've cross-pollinated too many things in this world is leading to even more destruction than what we're doing just by burning fossil fuels.
Right. Oh, without a doubt, because a lot of this stuff that's happening right now, especially when it comes to these fires and these natural events that are happening because of global warming and stuff like that. And did you know that we're supposed to be in like a cool spot of the Earth's life right now?
We're in between, what they say, ice ages right now, right?
Yes, or something like that. Yeah.
Is that true?
From the thing that I saw, it is true.
So we gonna freeze?
No. What I'm saying is we're supposed to be cooling off right now, and we're breaking record temperatures, which is not good. You know what I'm saying? So it's supposed to be cooler temperatures now, not so high. It's supposed to be one of the cooler spouts going on right now, as opposed to how hot it is. And the last time this happened was in the 1700s. It was supposed to be this cool.
Jesus.
Hence why I think, or whatever decade it was, that basically the world changed in the sense of like, that's when you see all the pirates show. Okay, this is a thing I heard about, so now I got to talk about it. But when you talk about pirates and stuff like that, and the sugar revolution, when that kind of spiked up, was all this when it was cooler weather and the oceans wouldn't give you the hurricanes and stuff like that. And so that's when stuff started to come across back and forth between countries and stuff like that with no issues, and cause a spike in a lot of stuff. So, but anyway.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you were talking about like, apparently like we're in between ice ages on the Earth. So this is supposed to be like a cool, that's what I thought you meant by like
I'm talking about, because I feel like an ice age will be a long time away. But
right.
I mean,
right.
I don't know.
So, okay. Well, so we did just break, I think, 2 records, right? Was it July?
July and August. And August broke July. Northern Hemisphere heat.
Hottest
it's ever been
month
ever
on record.
On record, yes.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And it was hot.
Maybe it was hot with the dinosaurs at some point, but we don't got that on record.
We don't. Yeah. Dino.
I don't know.
I would love to talk to a dinosaur, but like, how was it when y'all was here?
Like, man, it was cool. You know what I'm saying? It was cool out here.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I want to talk to y'all. Like, was it ghetto like this? Did y'all have politicians or nah?
Well, I mean, if you look at, I love animal stuff, but there's even politics in animals, just not as bad,
It's like who's the head? Like
who's the head? Who's going to be in charge? It's like a dominant thing, of course. It's just like it is here. It's just with money than anything else, and
with
power.
Men.
Women too. Don't try to.
It's y'all.
It's all us.
It's y'all. It's mostly y'all.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. But that's another reason. It's all us, right? It's not because women don't do it. It's because the men who are in power want to stay in power, and machismo.
There's this series going around on TikTok about like men and the desire for power and like where that comes from. Like, so there's this scientist, like he talks about it from like an actual scientific point of view and like evolution. So he's really trying to understand the psyche, but also the evolution of men and like why, there is this desire, like this deep desire to not only have power, but keep it by any means necessary, and then where that has taken us as a society. So yeah, it's been interesting. Like when it comes across my feed, I kind of go down the rabbit hole because
what is this called?
I will send it to you, but he's like a behavioral scientist, but also seems like a philosopher, to be honest, because he talks a lot about like like the evolution of mankind. But yeah, he literally just has discussions, and I love hearing it from him because he accepts that he is part of that, right? So it makes it that much more powerful where he's like, no, I had to have a reckoning myself.
That's right.
About like my need for power and, you know, why that is. And so I thought it was very, very, very informative, but it also let me know that like people can become aware of what it is, like of the human condition. Right. And not to say that we can control every part of it, but I think when you are aware, you tend to make different decisions simply because you know what it is now. You have that information.
The problem with becoming aware is you have to be ready to become aware, right? Meaning,
100%.
Yes, exactly. You can, just like you can go in front of a Trump supporter and tell them everything that they want to hear. I mean, that they don't want to hear, and they'll defend them to the end. Until somebody wants to change or wants to be aware of something, they're not going to change. Right. So he had to have something going on already where he's like, I'm going to accept this the way it is. And this is what we're going to do moving forward from that. So,
yeah, I actually think his awareness came from more of an academic like setting, like him studying this and him realizing like, oh, wait, I kind of do that, too.
Right. Something at one point clicked.
Yeah. So it showed me like, oh, God, maybe there is some hope. Maybe there is a little bit of hope. Fingers crossed.
Okay. You got hope.
I said maybe.
Keep hope alive.
I said maybe. All right. And that's actually our last story. I can't believe it is only 7:50. We're going to be done with this by 8:15. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it.
I told you it's going to happen. When I say it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
God damn it.
It's going to happen.
All right. Well, let's talk. Let's talk about how ghetto the world is and like, just your tips on how to keep our shit together. Because yesterday I had one of them days where like my anxiety was on 1,000 and I couldn't really pinpoint what it was about. Like there was no one thing bothering me, and that just kind of let me know that like
I can pinpoint it. I worry about you all the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, you can pinpoint it. What is it?
Well, I mean, because I take from this politics, I take breaks. Because if you're in the situation that you're in, you basically have to keep up with all this stuff all the time. And, you know, just from a psychological aspect, if you're always looking at things that's going on in the world that's bad, which typically that's what's being reported. Yeah. It kind of gets to you a little bit and you can be like, I feel a certain way and you don't know why. And it's a lot of times that if you repeatedly putting stuff in your head, you don't have to think about and say, oh, this is bad. I got to think. It just happens. It sinks in and you're like almost dreadful inside and you can get anxiety from what you think may happen or just listen to this stuff all the time and reading this stuff all the time. So I do often think about you and be like, oh, hope she all right. Because I'll take my break and be like, I ain't touching none of this new stuff for about 2 weeks and just be like, I don't know what's going to happen in the world, but it's just going to happen. Yeah. It's going to happen with or without me. So
yeah, that's true. So I will say during the weekdays, I do try to wrap up my day by like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
By 5, I really don't want to be taking in no more news. Like, hell, I'll pick it up in the morning. So I am getting better with really trying to like cut off the news cycle at a certain hour. And I know a lot of shit happens all day long. But for me, as someone who like, I know I'm prone to like depressive episodes, things like that. Like I have to make sure that I try to keep my psyche in, you know, just enough working order to be able to function. And then on the weekends, like I'm usually checked out. I'm usually checked out, which is very helpful. And then I will say, and this was my sister and Marve's idea, was when I relaunched the show, they're like, you know, recording sprints, like give yourself a couple weeks between, you know, how many episodes you record so that you can genuinely have just like a break. And during those weeks, you know, go home for a week and then maybe go on vacation for another week. And so I've made it so that now we're recording in 8-week sprints and then I'll take 2 weeks off. So I am trying to get better at it, but you're right. And it's crazy that you say like, you know, was me taking in stuff, because yesterday I was just kind of riding around and I actually had told my friend, I was just like, man, like my anxiety is so high today. And there's no one thing that's on my mind. Usually if something worries me, it repeats over and over and over. But there wasn't anything that was repeating. It was just like this feeling in my body that I just couldn't like shake. And I was just like, what is this? So
absolutely. And it don't have to be news. A lot of people take in a lot of other negative stuff all the time. It could be these shows and stuff like that. I don't want to pinpoint any shows, but like just the negativity of something, and you watch that constantly. You watch maybe a few episodes in a row, because a lot of people binge watch nowadays, and that just tends to soak in and give you like this feeling of anxiety and sometimes depression. And
what show? I'm interested.
Oh man, all these shows out here, man.
Name a few.
I don't know. Like the ones that want drama. I don't know, like some of these maybe housewife shows or something. I don't know, like that kind of stuff. Or
I kind of hate reality TV. I kind of hate it.
Yeah. I'm ashamed to say that I was a fan of the Flavor of Love back in the day.
Yeah, no, I never.
I couldn't. Now I know what's going on. I'm just like, I just cut all that stuff off. I'm very big on documentaries and like I said, animal type stuff and stuff that have to do with, I don't know, real stuff. You know what I mean?
Documentaries can be a little anxiety inducing too. Be.
But I guess what I'm trying to say too is when you got to mix that positive note in there. There's plenty of stuff I follow on Instagram that just feel good stories, and that makes a hell of a difference in my day. Yeah. It really does. Like I can watch those and be like, I'm going out to help somebody.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. Which I did the other night, matter of fact. This little young kid got stuck on the side of the road. Well, actually, I pulled into a gas station. He needed to jump. I jumped him, didn't work. Jumped him again, and he tried to drive off. Died again right on the freeway. Called him, tried to give him a tow truck. It was Labor Day. Nobody was coming out there. We parked his stuff. I gave him a ride to Dallas, and he got home to his mama that night.
That's great.
Yeah, college student trying to get home to mama.
That's awesome.
You got to help people. Right? Yeah.
I love that, because you know what, it reminds me that not everyone is on that that's not my business type of deal. I see that so much, and I kind of hate it. Like, because I'm like, I think it actually perpetuates people's foolishness if they know that there is this collective psyche of that's not my business.
Yes, and the thing is once you have people doing that, right, it's not my business, then you have people here saying it's not your business, right? So those colliding and just causing more separation. And I think it's just like one of the worst things that we don't have community hardly anymore, like about just helping your fellow person out.
Right.
Like,
that's right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So in my relationship, I was getting a lot, well, not even gonna say in my relationship, but in general, sometimes people give me a lot of slack for helping people all the time, almost to a detriment to myself. But I'm learning to deal with that. But I'd rather be on that end of the spectrum than the other side is like, none of this is my business.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so. I definitely, I'm a giver for sure, because I've always felt like I just felt I have always been a very abundant person. Like everything I've ever needed has come to me. So I've always felt very blessed in that way. And so, when I see someone in need and I can help, I know that I have excess and I can help you, like I'm going to help. But in the same way that, like, if I see someone who may not have the same voice in a room that I have being bullied by the people who I know will listen to me, like it's my position now to step up and like to protect that person who's only being bullied simply because they may not have the same social status or articulation or whatever, right? Because we play respectability politics all day long. So yeah, I hope that I never change that, because I don't want to be a bystander. Like when I hear these stories, like the lady with the brick, oh my God, in Houston, it happened in Houston. So there was a woman who, late last week, maybe this weekend, a woman was asked for her number by this man and refused to give it to him. And he picked up a brick and hit her upside her head, like side of her face. And so, she's on video talking to all of the people standing around her. And she's like, y'all, you men didn't do anything. Like, what's up? And they're like, what was we supposed to do? What was we supposed to do?
You can do.
There were like 5 of y'all and 1 of him.
Yeah.
And so, but that's not the only story. Like I remember, oh my God. And this is the worst one, Anthony. This is the worst one.
Don't tell me it's about the American anthem. Did you hear that one?
The anthem? No.
Yeah, some kid, I can't remember what event it was, didn't take off his hat for the anthem, and some other guy came over there and basically slammed him on the ground concussion, seizures, and stuff like that because he didn't.
A kid?
I think it was a kid.
Anybody, but
exactly. Whoever. So what?
Are you kidding?
He didn't take off his hat for the anthem, and you're gonna. Yeah.
Yo.
I mean, this was a quick read. You know, I don't know the details, but yes.
But the thing is, if it was in a setting where other people were there, like, why didn't y'all body slam this man?
Right.
Who y'all literally, New York, a New York train, a woman gets sexually assaulted on a New York train in a car with other people there, and no one does anything.
Wow.
And when asked, it wasn't my business. It wasn't my business. What?
And that's what we're talking about, how things are starting to separate now. Now it's becoming the norm, generation after generation, to be like, that ain't my business, right? And just stay out of it. But I will pull out my phone and film it.
Because it gives me a better chance of going viral.
Right.
Because we know you're not taking it to the police. We know it's not evidence.
Yeah.
For you, it's to put on for most of
I mean, all the police do now is get online,
right,
and look for the video, and look like for that. Shit.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see the world being much more anxiety inducing. I mean, we're always connected. There's always some shit going on. And it's crazy because I often ask myself, like, is it more going on, or are we just more aware of it because of technology? And I really haven't been able to answer that question, to be honest. But either way, it does impact our mental health. And with that, a lot of, like me, I think you and I have talked about this often, like, I tend to wear my stress in my body. And so, yes, you know, for me, my shoulders, my neck, my head, like, I'm prone to headaches. And a lot of people
do, and they don't even realize it, right? Mm-hmm. When something start happening to you via, like, around stressful moments, and your body starts to react, it might not just be that you hurt something or, you know, your stomach is hurting for a reason. This can be stress related, and stress can cause so many physical illnesses and ailments that, and people don't realize. They're like, oh, is it something I ate? No. Yeah.
No, this is your mind doing this to you.
Yeah, it ain't the oatmeal.
So tips, like, I mean, and tips. Start with me, right? Like, someone who constantly takes in stressful information. Like what do you recommend for the people?
You know me. One of the main things I believe in is breathing. Breathing can do so much for your body because it's something that we all have to have. Like you can go time without water, you can go time without food, but you can't really go more than a minute or two without air, right? So it's the most important thing that we're doing on a daily basis, and we constantly do it. And so breathing should be implemented into your daily routine if you can, to help with stress. And you can do box breathing, you could do deep breaths, controlled deep breaths, because a lot of people, I breathe. No, that's stress. Yeah. That's anxiety, right? Yeah. So what we need to do is control those breaths in different ways that help calm the mind and calm the heart and release some of that stress. Obviously, exercise is a big thing. To get 3 to 4 days a week to try to get some kind of exercise in there. Okay. Just simply walking outside and enjoying the weather along with your exercise can, and I say enjoy the weather, but get outside more and taking, like, appreciate the things that are going on in this world. Like, when the last time you watched a sunrise or sunset, or just look at the moon and think about things, and, like, just let nature take its course instead of always having our heads in screens and phones and TVs and stuff like that. So, and of course, meditation, if you can, which is the hardest thing for me. I took so many, like, there was a year that I basically took off for my wellness, and it took me a long time to really get really good at meditation, and then started a new job and all these other side hustles I got, which and it kind of went away. And so now when I do get a chance to meditate, I'm back at square one. It's like, it's very frustrating. But at the same time, I think to myself, you know what? It's all right. We'll start back again. We'll do it all over again.
Because it is a practice.
It is a practice.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It is a practice. Okay.
So, what about, like, nutrition? Like, because I definitely noticed that crazy, like, even my mind functions better when my diet is clean.
Yes.
Like, that is crazy to me, but, like, I'm clearer, I'm sharper.
Yes.
When my diet is clean.
Oh yeah. Diet can never, it's one of the main things when people come to me all the time about losing weight. I was like, let me see your diet.
Yeah.
a lot of times people lie anyway, but I say, cut out this and do this and do that.
No, I just eat fish.
Yeah. So many people lie. Why y'all be lying out here? Why y'all be lying? Like you lying to the person that's supposed to help you and you out here lying. But they like, I only had 2 glasses, only ate this. I'm like, come on.
That's what they be telling Dr. Now. You watch my 600-pound life?
I don't, but I've seen the clips. And
Dr. Now be like, you're on a 1,500 calorie diet.
Right.
You.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it down to 1,000.
I remember he said one comment. I was like, man, come on. He said, what was it? There's nothing you don't eat or something like that. Shoot. I forgot what the lady said, but he was like, there's nothing you don't eat. It looked like.
Dr. Now be on people's heads, bro. Like that. So, yeah. That and Little Women of Atlanta. Those are the
I haven't seen any of this stuff. No.
They're little people in Atlanta, but they got all the big drama. All the big drama.
I can't do it. None of that stuff will drama. I don't do. I try not to do drama, even when it comes to my relationships with whoever. We can talk about this, right? Yeah. It don't have to be big drama. What happened? Okay. Did I do something wrong? I apologize, or whatever the case may be. And that's another thing, your daily interaction with people. If it's somebody that's stressing you all the time or something like that, first of all, try not to let it get to you.
Break up with them.
And second of all, or break up with them.
Anthony said break up with them.
No. Walk away from situations. It's okay. Yeah, like a lot of people's ego is intact. I ain't let him do me like that, or I ain't letting her do me like that. Why? Just let it go. Yeah. A lot of times.
Well, and one thing I've learned, even in my childhood, and I'm so glad that I learned this, is that a lot of times the way people are like running around the world acting, it don't have nothing to do with you. That's about some shit that they going through.
Absolutely.
That has nothing to do with you. And so a lot of times, like, I do tend to let things go because I'm like, that's your insecurity. Right. That's your, like, I don't want that to touch me at all.
If people thought like that more, that would be great, because behind all this stuff, something's going on there, right? Like, who knows what happened to them? I almost sometimes feel sorry for somebody or feel empathy for them. And that allows me to be like, oh, I ain't mad at you. But
I think that also it means that you've done your growth and your healing too, because I wasn't always like that. Like I really had to become comfortable with myself, knowing that, like, hey, I'm not around here treating people bad.
Right.
Like I'm a decent person. Like I have a good heart. And so when someone slights me, it's like, that's definitely about you, because I know I didn't give you that energy. And then that's when I realized that I had empathy for people who would behave like that. I'm like, damn, it must really suck to feel trapped in a really space where you have to do that to people. Right. Like, nah, I can be good to people. And if they give me bad energy, I'll be like, hey, you ain't got to tell me but once. Cool. Yeah. I probably ain't gonna never deal with you again, but I'm not gonna treat you bad.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it really is important to know, like, if you do good, I don't have to look over my shoulder and worry about anything. So if somebody isn't treating me right, I know it's a good chance it's them.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you don't want to talk about it, don't tell me about it, and you're feeling a certain way, then how can I know, right? Tell me if I did do something wrong, then we can acknowledge it, right? So communication is also key in that. But we're getting into a whole diet. Yes. So the last thing with the diet, like right now, I mentioned that I'm doing a fasting, and I don't necessarily recommend this for everybody, but fasting also, it just helps recalibrate the body. And there's different fasts out there. I like to just do a water fast for, depending on 2 to 4 days. Right now I'm going to do a 4-day because just came back from my sister's 50th birthday. Shout out, Tanya. Happy birthday again.
Happy birthday,
actually,
sis.
Is it today or yesterday? Was today the 2nd? Anyway.
The 2nd?
I mean the 5th.
Oh, that was yesterday.
5th.
Like, you way off.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, this has been a long.
It's fast. You might be done with the fast.
It got me confused. No, so fasting helps sometimes I'm trying to talk great about it, but it one helps get rid of body fat for me personally, which is that gut fat, that bad visceral fat that sits around the organs, stuff like that. But yeah, it just kind of like resets the whole body and kind of like, it's great for your immune system. Like you mentioned, it's great for health in general.
How often do you do that?
The 4-day one I do like twice a year.
Okay.
And it's only been a year and a half that I've been doing it. So this is only my 3rd time doing it. And it feels like but I don't get hangry. I don't get headaches. Yeah. So some people talk about that, and I don't know if it's something that you should push through or not, but definitely just drink plenty of water while you're doing it. Yeah. And it just helps just cleanse you all out, really, in my view. I mean, in my readings and what I've studied. So
documentaries, going back to documentaries, there's a really good one that follows a retreat wherein people had like chronic diseases and they actually go there and they do not only meditation and breathing exercises and just mindfulness, but they fast for a certain number of days. Now, of course, there are medical personnel on staff, but I mean, they have seen people literally be reset from things like pre-diabetes, and like when you look at the results, it's like, damn, like the body really just sometimes needs a break from attempting to digest
and that's another thing. Your body works so hard for digestion and stuff like that. So it gives it a chance to heal itself without worrying about the digestion, if that makes sense, right? So it can put more energy into everything else, especially when you're sleeping. Yep. So a lot of people eat late too, which is terrible to do.
Remember your mama used to say, don't eat a big meal before you sleep. You have bad dreams.
Right.
And then I realized there was actual science behind that. Yes. We just thought it was for them it was an old wives' tale. But come to find out,
it's true.
It was your body working.
A lot of the stuff is a wives' tale for a reason, right? Yep. It happens. And then the stuff we eat a lot of time is inflammatory all the time, and your body is fighting that inflammation all the time. Yeah. It's constantly working against some of the foods that we're eating.
Yeah. So, especially here in this country.
It's almost hard to find stuff that's not inflammatory.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. You just mentioned something, and I wonder if these two things are connected. So you talked about your body healing itself without worrying about digesting and spending so much energy on digesting. When I'm sick, I lose my appetite. When I'm really sick, like I can go days without eating. My body just doesn't want it. And is that the same thing?
I think so. Like a lot of times when people just listen to their body and what's going on, it'll tell you like, now I'm not going to say this all the time, right? Because sometimes you do need to eat when it comes to certain things. But even though I did read something that you should eat more when you're sick, because the body, or proteins at least, because those amino acids and the proteins help me. But a lot of times I'm the same way. I don't get hungry.
Yeah. I want, usually if I'm sick, and I'm talking about like that fever and the hunt, like when I'm sick, my body's like, nah, we trying to survive, right? Right. Yeah, we ain't got time. And so I want like juices, like I'll maybe want orange juice or something like that, or like and a lot of water. But when it comes to food, I'll drink broth. Right. Like that's the one thing I will, like bone broth or something. But yeah, I wonder if it's connected, because I mean at that point, like we fighting for survival. We ain't got time to be trying to digest the steak. Your body does flip into different modes when it comes to all this stuff. Like it switches on and off when it comes to this type of things, and that's why this breathing thing is important too, because when you do certain breath work too, like I do the Tomo breathing or the Wim Hof effect or whatever it's called, and that sends your body into like a chaos and lights up all kind of sensory in your body to fight off immune, because it's like it's more oxygen saturation than oxygen deprivation, or what do you call that? Deprivation, okay. Wait, what's the exercise you had me do?
That was Tomo breathing,
The head high?
Yeah, the head high.
Oh my God.
I told you.
Y'all. So Anthony took me through this exercise maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I never knew you could get high this type of high on your own supply. No, that's the best way to put it. I was literally just breathing. Yeah. And like I think you took me maybe through 4 or 5 different exercises with like different counts.
Well, 3 sets of the same one, and then went through some other breathing.
Yeah. It was crazy, y'all. Yeah. So I'm going to get that info, and I'm actually going to put it in the show notes so that people can look it up. Yeah. But no, I remember the rest of that day almost having like this afterglow,
euphoric feeling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
because I actually drove out for a barbecue to my friend's house, and I remember being on the freeway
just like life is
this
good.
Is nice. Yeah. Did I do some drugs?
It literally resets the nervous systems and the stuff like that in the body when you do that. So
That's dope.
Yeah.
How often do you recommend that?
Man, I just try to get in as much as possible. I was doing it daily, at least 5 times a week. But I don't know. I have to look that up. But I was doing. You can do it as much as you want.
Okay, so it wouldn't like kill me if I.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not at all.
Breathing.
No, I mean,
how'd she die?
She breathing. I mean, you can do that with water, but I don't think you.
Yeah, you can. What is it? Oversaturated, something. I don't know.
Well, the thing about the body is like once you get to, and I read this about how some of these places go to an oxygen bar and stuff like that, but your body only can intake so much oxygen before it expels it, right? So this gets it to that point and at a high rate. And then that's why you hold your breath so it can deplete it out again and run through the blood, kind of like clean the system out, and then you breathe it out and do it again 2 more times, right? Yeah.
Did our ancestors just know this naturally?
I think so.
Okay.
I've saw things that, or read things that in this book called Breathe. I read that book where it talked about people in history, and some of the people that lived the longest are the people that had the biggest lungs, right? So they've been on this for eons about when it comes to breathing, how important it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I will say I catch myself sometimes taking very shallow breaths. And so like, I'll try to be mindful of like, okay, like be more intentional about your breathing. Right. Yoga has been great for me for that reason, because it is one breath, one move. And so you have to take that deep breath so you can, expel it out. But like in my day to day, when I'm just sitting around, like I'll find myself not even filling my lungs up. Like I'll just be sitting here like taking little shallow breaths, which probably doesn't help things like my anxiety or, what's going on with my mind. So that's all a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm up to about 3.5 minutes of holding my breath.
Holding it?
Yeah. If I do the breathing exercise and then hold it, because that's part of the exercise of the hold the breath.
Okay.
So, yeah. It works.
That's like a lung strength thing.
Because trying to hold your breath for 3 minutes, it ain't happening.
No, I ain't got it. We asthmatic over here, baby.
It actually helped that too.
I bet.
They talked about it curing asthma for people.
What's crazy is I notice when I get into like running longer distances, my asthma does not bother me that much. And so it has to be something about like me being forced to make my lungs expand and like genuinely work.
I tell you what, when I did start this breathing stuff, I go to the gym now and I'm doing something and my breath is just like, I'm not out of breath. I'm out of shape now because all the injuries and stuff like that. So my muscles be hurt, but my breath
you good. Yeah.
Never bothers me anymore.
That's good.
Now we'll see if I ever go back to Tribe and if my breath will be
kill him. Kill him.
I'll be on the ground there.
Y'all, Anthony can run. That's what y'all don't know.
I don't know if I can. Well, I can still, but I don't know if I should anymore. So.
Well, we'll see.
Right.
All right. I got one more question for you. We're just going to end it. I hate to ask you this question because you're such a happy person, but you mad about anything today?
Today? Well, I'm mad about I got caught in traffic today. Everybody hates traffic, so I don't like traffic. But I actually had a conversation with somebody earlier. And so I think what I'm mad about today is when, because y'all had finance the last one, right? So, and I'm pretty big on finance too. But when people, the wants and needs in life, right? When people want something and they're willing to pay this much for it, and then complain about how much it costs, right? This is a want. We're not talking about rent, food, anything like that. You want to buy something because it's prestigious and or it costs a lot of money or whatever the case may be. And then you're like, I can't believe how much this stuff costs. Like,
wait, okay. Yeah, no, that don't even make sense.
It happens all the time though. Like
really?
People want something and they buy it and they're like, I can't believe this costs this much. Why am I paying this monthly bill on this high thing or something like that?
Not paying a monthly bill.
Whatever the case may be. So that kind of irks me when like people buy something that's really expensive and then complain about the price when they don't need it.
Okay.
When they don't need it.
That's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
That's the key in this. Like, because you got to pay your rent, you got to buy food, you got to buy gas, you got to, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And those prices are high. We all know that. We all struggling out here in that sense.
That's crazy.
But those wants in life that people maybe feel like they're needs. People mistake needs for wants.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. And I know it to be true because I got people in my life who often mistake. Yeah. It is funny. I tend to correct people's language now when they say like, "Oh, I need." I'm like, "No, you want that." Right. Like a lot of us have everything we need. Genuinely, yes. A lot of us have everything that we need. Like a lot of shit that we sit around complaining about are things that we want and maybe can't afford right now. But yeah, that's. I'm
not saying that you can't get them in the future or stuff like that, but just kind of live with your means. And I hate when I say that too, because people want to strive to be something almost like a fake it till you make it type of thing. But you gotta weigh those things out and be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe not right now.
Yeah. And that's okay. Right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. You don't have to keep up with nobody. Stop trying to keep up with people, man. That's what really grinds my gears.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Let me see. For me today.
What you got?
Today I was actually really annoyed at a company that I have been waiting on for a minute to come fix a piece of machinery in my house. Okay. So it took them forever to get the parts sent out. And then they were like, "Oh, we got to get a tech out to actually come fix the thing." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So then they called me today and was just like, "Hey, when did we schedule this appointment with you again?" And I was just like, hold on. No. Oh, wait, 2 seconds. No. Ain't this what y'all do as a business? Yeah. Like, I really get annoyed when we pay premium prices for things. Right. And then the service does not match. Yeah. Now you putting one more thing on my plate that I got to be anxious about. I got to breathe through now. Right.
I'll be breathing all day.
Stomping around my house all day because I'm mad. But you pay a premium price and then I have to remind you of when you set my appointment for your technician to come out here. And
don't tell me it was a day of too or something like that.
No, the appointment is actually set for tomorrow. So they called me today, I guess, asking me if my text was supposed to be here today or tomorrow. And I'm like, you should know that. Right.
You didn't write it down? Yeah.
I'm just frustrated. And I guess that leads to a bigger what I'm mad about today. Like, I do think that a lot of these companies are starting to charge us premium prices. They blaming it on inflation, all this other stuff. But the service and just their bedside manner does not match. And for me, that's very frustrating because people are already struggling to do regular shit in life.
Well, I think that goes back to, I think y'all were talking about that when it comes to what are these people, the technicians or the people, the customer service, what are they getting right? Yeah. What are they getting out of these record profits? Yeah. Nothing. No. They're not getting no raises, or they're getting raises that's lower than inflation, right?
You said it.
Everybody's feeling like I'm done with this. So why would the customer service be well at that point in time?
You said it. And that's probably why that woman didn't know when my appointment was, because she getting paid, $14, $15 an hour. Right. Probably working in a city that's expensive as hell. Yeah. And so, she was probably working her second job when she was making my appointment for that tech to come, to come service my elliptical. So
and then when you retire, they give you what was that?
Oh man, they gave this man a bag of candy, a single movie ticket. They didn't even give him a pair.
And that was what, 20 years or something like that?
20 years, never missed a day of work at the Las Vegas airport. Wow. I believe it was the Burger King.
So that's your answer right there. Like, they're raising prices because they can. And then on the other end, the customer service bad is because people
check us. Yeah. Who gonna stop me?
Right. Yeah. That's why these unions are so important right now, right?
If y'all are part of a union, know that this show is a friend of yours. My mother, I got exposed to the unions at a very early age because my mother was actually a union leader when she worked for the county of LA.
Shout out, Mom.
So, yeah. My mother was in it. So I would go to the meetings with her and everything. So I really understood the power of collective bargaining at a very young age. And so I love, and then I never was a part of a union myself, but grew up and went into corporate, into these like finance and chief of staff positions, right, where I saw how a lot of those decisions were being made that hurt people like my mother. So I love the resurgence of unions. And I think it was inevitable because we saw what was happening. We saw these record-breaking profits only for the people to not share in those profits. And a lot of times we work harder because, you start cutting heads, but somebody got to pick up that work.
Well, and you think about the time where there's companies or people in certain companies that took cuts over this COVID thing and whatever industry was in trouble and all this kind of stuff. Oh, we'll be a good team player. Now the record profits coming up. Raise? What raise? What? Who?
Yellow Trucking Company was the same.
Yeah.
Come to find out that they had taken a pay cut, which was supposed to be given back to them, never got it, and then the company went kaput. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, let's not talk about this sad shit. All right, tell the people where to find you at.
I'm not big on finding me, but if you want to, I'm on.
If you need a trainer or a breathing coach.
Yeah, I'm at what is my Instagram? Pretty Tony, what they call me on Instagram. But other than that, no, I don't really do much on the social media front. So
that's what's up.
That's a lot of part of my keeping my anxiety low type of thing.
Good.
But you can hit me up on there.
And the business name?
The business stuff is just word of mouth. I got my real job, so I'm really working a lot of hours right now. So I can't take on too many, and if any new clients with the things that I'm doing. But she's talking about the breath work I do and the training and what all I do, in-body testing, like body composition testing. So just if you want to do the in-body, I'll start doing it on, I keep saying this, but I'll start putting it on Instagram about when I'm testing for in-body. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. So, yeah.
Are you doing testing at EPC?
I am not. I'm a coach at EPC again.
Okay.
So the first year I did testing, even though I was a coach then too, but it's just too much. Okay. So.
I was going to send people to EPC, but y'all can still go to EPC.
Yeah. I'll be at Common Desk, usually in Deep Ellum or Richardson, every other Monday, basically. So, yeah. On my day off. I don't really have day offs, but
hey.
Your gifts. Did you get your gifts? I brought gifts for y'all. So if you come on this podcast, you got to bring gifts. Now I'm setting the standard.
Oh, look.
She got vinyls. We got my boy right here. This is just what I found at Half Price Books. So shout out to Half Price Books.
That's where I go to get my vinyl though. Yeah. And y'all, it's this one right prices. Here. It's this one.
George Carlin. 2 classes, right?
I'm listening to that tonight.
Right.
That's happening tonight.
Yeah,
I love it.
I didn't know she had a comedy album, so I want to give her something like that. So
I do not have any Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man. All right, y'all. Well, and he bought a really great tequila.
Yes.
It has 8 out of 10
it's
rating.
8 out of 10 on the ratings. It's a beautiful bottle, hand painted type of, it's really good. So
incredible.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we
drunk,
definitely.
Y'all. No, I'm sorry.
And not. I ain't even finished this one, but no, I appreciate you for being here. Thank y'all for rocking with us. We have 2 more episodes in this sprint. We have Reggie Calhoun Jr., who's incredible. He actually started a program for college athletes who may not want to go pro and may very well want to build their skills while they're actually in college. And so, sending them off to an amazing future. And then after him, we have Kayla McDowell, who is the founder of Dallas Black Bloggers, who just allowed me to build an incredible network here in the city as a new blogger to Dallas. So those will be our next 2 shows, and then we're going to take a break. Okay, go ahead.
So do we? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So yeah, and then we'll take a break, and then we will have a space change.
Okay, so you are going to talk about it. Okay.
Yeah, which I'm excited about. So Great Black Century, who you guys saw on the show a couple weeks ago, is actually helping to put that space together with me as a co-producer. So we're moving to Sour Kids Productions, their studios up in North Dallas. So I'm super excited about that. So yeah, in 4 weeks, we will be.
That's super dope.
We will be up there. I can't. Of course, I got to take Anthony and let him bless the space.
Absolutely, I'll be there. I'm going to be there regardless. Yeah, banging on the door, let me in.
Hey, so yeah, y'all make sure to follow, like, subscribe, tell your mama and them about the Green Route. Full episode will be out on Friday. And we will see y'all next week. Y'all have a great night.
Absolutely. Good night.
All right. Later, y'all.
Still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking looking for is equality and not revenge.